And away we go, episode 1160 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, September 22nd, 2025. How possible is it that the image of the 2025 Commanders will be the photo of a bloodied head coach in Dan Quinn? If the team makes the playoffs, how likely is it that photo serves as like a rallying cry for our team? Dan Quinn on Sunday afternoon took one for the team, and his team got a win. A convincing win, a 41-24 win over the Las Vegas Raiders at Northwest Stadium to improve to 2-1 in the NFL's 2025 regular season. Burgundy and gold, greater than sign, silver and black. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. This is the podcast that follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This is a podcast for which there is a new episode each weekday, Monday through Friday, with each episode out by 5 a.m. Eastern and often much earlier than that. It's great to have you with us. Coming up on the show, in-depth reaction to and analysis of the Commanders' win over the Raiders. So we have a lot to discuss, including why this game is the latest sign of the Commanders truly being a good team. This being a second consecutive game in which the Commanders unfortunately got hit hard by injury. The wonderful performance by quarterback Marcus Mariota in place of the injured Jaden Daniels. An awesome showing by the Commanders' rushing offense. Major change for the Commanders' offensive line. A good but not great game for the defense. One of the best games ever for Washington in terms of returns. Quite the up and down outing for kicker Matt Gay. All of that and more coming up over the next two segments. Dan Quinn got bloodied. We'll get to that too. But the Commanders got the win. This is a Victory Monday. Also on the show, lots of conversation about the FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region off Week 4 of the 2025 college football season, including very impressive wins for Maryland and Virginia. The Terrapins so far this season have an elite defense. The Cavaliers so far this season have an elite offense. Who saw either of those two things coming? And on the show, we'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats, they over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games at the New York Mets. There was a lot to that series. And we on Saturday morning had the publishing of a piece by the Washington Post, which gave a rather negative depiction of the Lerner ownership group. The O's, they over the weekend completed losing 3 out of 4 games against the New York Yankees at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, despite starting pitchers Trevor Rogers and Kyle Bradish each again being really good. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Lots of feedback on the Commanders' win over the Raiders, especially Marcus Mariota. From Mike Lewis on X, writes Mike, Mariota has always struck me as far back as watching him at Oregon, someone willing to serve for the greater team good. Not about himself. That's the type of personality/character ideal in a backup role. Thank you for that, Mike. And interestingly, the Raiders' offensive coordinator is the man who was Marcus Mariota's head coach at the University of Oregon, Chip Kelly. From Stan Lanning on X, writes Stan, Mariota 100% should be starting somewhere. He deserves it. Thank you for that, Stan. Well, Mariota is on a 1-year contract, so maybe this coming offseason does get an opportunity to be a bridge QB1. From Spencer on X, right, Spencer, I'm shocked teams aren't offering us a first-round pick for Mariota. He has been the best backup in the league at least the past 2 seasons. He'd be an excellent starting replacement for several teams right now. Thank you for that, Spencer. The thing is this. The Commanders are a win-now team with an injured QB1. Now, hopefully that QB1 is back soon, but should the Commanders / would the Commanders trade Mariota if they got a great offer for him? That'd be fascinating. If you could get a second-round pick, let's say, for Marcus Mariota, and I don't know that he would command that. I mean, Spencer brought up a first-round pick. I mean, that is pretty high for a backup quarterback, but I guess you never say never. The NFL trade market is wildly unpredictable. But the point would be this. If the Commanders could get something of real value for Marcus Mariota, would it be wise to trade him? Or, as a win-now team, do you say, no, you need a quality backup quarterback if your QB1 goes down for any length of time. From FJS the Third on X writes, FJS was hoping we could keep Marcus for another year. Probably wishful thinking. Thank you for that, FJS. From Bill Sessions on X writes, Bill, Mariota will be Kingsbury's starter when he takes a head coaching job. Thank you for that, Bill. Interesting thought. From Keith Hoffman on X writes, Keith, if they run the ball like this all season, the defense will have a chance. Great win. Hail to the Redskins. So thank you for that, Keith. Whatever your dermatological needs may be, contact the great Dr. George Verghese, who I know is a happy man on this Monday. He is a huge fan of the team. He is a board-certified dermatologist and Mohs surgeon, and operating under his direction is the Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland, which has locations in Waldorf, Maryland, Leonardtown, Maryland, and Lexington Park, Maryland. Whatever your dermatological needs may be, call 301-396-3401 or visit midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland focuses on medical skin care, cosmetic procedures, and skin cancer diagnosis and comprehensive care. Dr. Verghese and the Institute offer free skin cancer screenings to anyone considered a new patient. And Dr. Verghese and the Institute offer advanced treatments for skin cancer, including painless and scarless skin cancer treatment. Also, if you're dealing with allergic reactions, if you're dealing with acne, psoriasis, or eczema, if you're interested in procedures like Botox, laser hair removal, or chemical peels, call 301-396-3401 or visit midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's 301-396-3401 or midatlanticskin.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. For excellent and comprehensive skin care, contact Dr. George Verghese and the Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. After the Commanders' 21-6 win over the New York Giants at Northwest Stadium on September 7th, said that the Commanders were far from at their best and yet still won by 15 points and were in control the entire game, was maybe the greatest sign yet of the progress made by the team, that this truly is a good team. After the Commanders' hideous 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football on September 11th, said that I still believed that the Commanders were a good team. Well, we end the Commanders' 41-24 win over the Las Vegas Raiders at Northwest Stadium on Sunday afternoon, got further reason to believe that the Commanders are a good team. The Commanders, despite playing without multiple key players due to injury, and despite seeing many more key players deal with injury during the game, bounced back from that loss at the Packers with a 17-point win. The Commanders did as a good team should do, rebounded from a bad loss with an impressive win considering the circumstances. Now, the injury problem is not going away. The Commanders last Monday afternoon, September 15th, announced having placed running back Austin Eckler and edge defender Dietrich Wise Jr. on the reserve/injured list, off each guy in the loss at the Packers suffering a season-ending injury. Eckler, a torn Achilles, Wise, a quadriceps injury. The Commanders last Wednesday morning, September 17th, announced having placed cornerback Jonathan Jones on the reserve/injured list. This due to a hamstring injury that he suffered in that loss at the Packers. 3 key players for the Commanders were inactive for this win over the Raiders due to injuries suffered in the loss at the Packers. Quarterback Jaden Daniels, knee injury. Receiver Noah Brown, groin injury. Tight end John Bates, groin injury. And the Commanders, during the game, dealt with a bunch of injuries. Receiver Terry McLaurin, quadriceps injury. The Commanders' secondary got bludgeoned by injury. Safety Will Harris left the game in the second quarter. He, according to NFL insider Ian Rappaport of NFL Network in a post on X on Sunday evening, suffered a fractured fibula. Terrible news. Also, cornerback Marshawn Lattimore was evaluated for a concussion. Cornerback Trey Amos dealt with a calf injury. Safety Percy Butler dealt with a hip injury. Heck, even the Commanders' head coach got hurt in this game. On a 1st and 10 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 40 with 8 seconds left in the second quarter, quarterback Marcus Mariota had a 3-yard shotgun run out of bounds, and he, in running out of bounds, crashed into Dan Quinn, who took a nasty back-first fall on which his head snapped back, and Quinn came up with a bloodied face due to a cut on his nose. What is happening with the Commanders from an injury standpoint is concerning and alarming, and a flashing neon sign that this Commander season is not like last Commander season in terms of injury luck. This season, in fact, may be the polar opposite. Again, the head coach got hurt in a game. But the Commanders won that game. They, in the NFL's 2025 regular season, are 2-1. They got this win over the Raiders, and the Commanders got the win because they are a good team. This was Dan Quinn during the opening statement of his post-game press conference on Sunday afternoon, and then you'll hear an exchange between WUSA 9 sports anchor Chick Hernandez and Quinn.
After last game, we spoke about complementary football and where we missed some opportunities on that. We had a op at one at the end of the half, didn't get it. Had one to come out for the second half, didn't get it. This week, we did not miss on those chances, and that's really important to pass the baton to the next group, The long return resulted in a touchdown. Punt return obviously was for a touchdown, but getting a stop, getting a drive to get the long field goal at the half, that's when we're at our best. And we work hard at that spot. And when you miss the mark, it stings like we did before. But I wanted to make sure, we challenge ourselves to be aggressive and bold and take our chances when we could. That's who we are. And I thought the guys really delivered on that. This is a resilient group, so I wasn't surprised. But I was pleased to see us doing that, knowing that new faces, some different spots, but the attitude, the mindset of how we want to play ball, that would stay consistent. So all that said, let's get rocking with you guys.
How gratifying was it to have all 3 phases show up today after a tough week?
Yeah, and special teams was right at the start of it again. And I thought they've got a knack, and we're gaining on it. Having Jalen there on the punt return side, seeing Debo on the kick return side. I think what we saw maybe a week ago, Chick, was the covering side of punt, putting it down inside. And so we just missed some of those chances. And so when you can capitalize and win on field position, a long return, keeping them pinned back, those are winning football moments. And when you do it, the results, the story almost writes itself. And when you don't do it, you just keep putting yourself behind and you make it more difficult. So it was cool to see all guys leaning in on one another today.
All right, and we later during Dan Quinn's press conference on Sunday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Ben Standig and Quinn.
In terms of the resolve for your team, coming off that loss, all these injuries, to go out and perform like that and just, hey, this is a team we should probably beat at home, and you went and did that. What does that say about a team from the perspective of hey, this is what contenders do?
I think more than anything, Ben, is, when you have a loss that you don't like and you got to sit in it and this game could not get here quick enough. But I wasn't surprised by their resilience either. We weren't happy, but, we're going to make the adjustments. What do we got to do to change it? And that's how we did it. And so I wasn't surprised about the energy that we would see coming out. It was awesome to see, that energy kind of take place right into the opening play, into the offense to go. And so I thought then defense, there was a turnover. They went back to 3 and out, no points on that. So that's really what I was most pleased on today, was seeing us live that football back and forth between all 3 phases.
Yeah, and when it came to Dan Quinn getting bloodied by that collision with Marcus Mariota, we during Quinn's post-game press conference on Sunday afternoon had this back and forth between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn.
What did that feel like?
Yeah, probably like you'd expect, and it's this kind of part don't want it to happen, but it was all good.
Getting stitches?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
I tell you, what happened to Dan Quinn was frightening, not so much because of the bloody face, but because of the way his head snapped back as he fell back first to the ground. He could have suffered a concussion. He could have hurt his neck. I mean, Dan Quinn is a big dude. He was a defensive lineman for Salisbury University in Salisbury, Maryland, from 1989 through 1993, but he just turned 55, okay? But luckily, he appears to be okay. More than okay was the Commanders' starting quarterback in this win over the Raiders, Marcus Mariota. The Commanders do have depth concerns. Every NFL team has depth concerns. But you know where the Commanders do not have a depth concern? The most important position in sports, quarterback. The team has a high-level QB1 in Jaden Daniels and has a high-level QB2 in Marcus Mariota. And Mariota on Sunday afternoon, for a third time in 3 regular season games in which he has been called upon by the Commanders to play a lot, played well. Mariota in the 2024 regular season got significant playing time in 2 games and was terrific in each of them. The 47 win over the Carolina Panthers at Northwest Stadium on October 20th, 2024, and the Commanders' regular season ending 23-19 win at the Dallas Cowboys this past January 5th. Mariota on Sunday afternoon made his first start in a regular season game since December 4th, 2022, and he was great. He completed 15 of his 21 pass attempts. That works out to a completion percentage of 71.43. And the percentage could have been even higher, as Mariota, by my count, was victimized by 3 drops. Receiver Terry McLaurin had a drop on a 2nd and 21 for the Commanders at their 10 with 11:51 left in the third quarter. McLaurin had a drop on a shotgun incompletion by Mariota, though cornerback and former Commander Caillou Blue Kelly was credited with a pass defense. A gold star to any of you listening who remember Caillou Blue Kelly during his time with the Commanders. Receiver Deebo Samuel Sr. had a drop on a 1st and 20 for the Commanders at their 14 with 5:07 left in the first quarter. Deebo had a drop on a deep pistol play action incompletion by Mariota. The ball bounced off the chest of Deebo, bounced into the air, was nearly intercepted, and receiver Jalen Lane had a drop on a 3rd and 5 for the Commanders at the Raiders 19 with 1:29 left in the first quarter. Lane, near the front right corner of the end zone, had a drop on a shotgun incompletion by Mariota, who made a terrific back shoulder throw on what appeared to be a free play off interior defensive lineman Adam Butler, appearing to have been offside, but no penalty was called. Cornerback Eric Stokes did receive credit for a pass defense on the play. But even with the drops, Marcus Mariota had a completion percentage of 71.43. Mariota threw for 207 yards. He had a yards per pass attempt of 9.86. Excellent. Had a yards per completion of 13.8. That's very good. How about the deep ball to Terry McLaurin? 2nd and 4 for the Commanders at their 43 with 4:47 left in the third quarter. Mariota had a 56-yard pistol play action bomb to McLaurin, who was wide open but was tackled at the 1. That was disappointing. I know it was close regarding whether he got tackled at the 1 or scored a touchdown, but man, that is a play on which you really would like for your number 1 receiver to take it to the house to score a touchdown. Did not happen, but still, that was a great play. 56-yard pass play. 3 snaps later was running back Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt with a 3rd and goal, 1 yard shotgun handoff touchdown run with 3:03 left in the third quarter. Mariota had 1 touchdown pass versus no interceptions. A 3rd and 7 for the Commanders at the Raiders 43. Mariota had a 43-yard shotgun touchdown pass to receiver Luke McCaffrey with 2:05 left in the fourth quarter. McCaffrey was wide open. He generated 29 yards after the catch. Mariota on the play took a quarterback hit from linebacker Devin White. Still made the touchdown pass. Mariota took just 1 sack. Mariota quarterbacked a Commanders offense that went 5 for 10 on 3rd downs. Mariota was very effective as a runner. 6 carries for 40 yards, a touchdown, and yes, a lost fumble. But 3rd and goal for the Commanders at the 2. Mariota had a 2-yard shotgun scramble touchdown run with 11:51 left in the first quarter. On a 1st and 10 for the Commanders at their 49 with 3:29 left in the first quarter, Mariota had a 14-yard shotgun read option run out of bounds. And while the lost fumble was bad, it came at the end of a tremendous run. 2nd and 1 for the Commanders at the Raiders 49 with 8:02 left in the first quarter. Mariota had a lost fumble on a 22-yard pistol read option run. The fumble was forced by interior defensive lineman Thomas Booker IV as Mariota leapt into the air. So Mariota was guilty of trying to do too much. Bad job by him. The fumble was recovered by Caillou Blue Kelly. The first turnover by the Commanders in this regular season. Mariota also committed a 10-yard intentional grounding penalty in the fourth quarter, though I'm not sure that was his fault. 3rd and 10 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 29 with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Mariota committed a 10-yard intentional grounding penalty, although that may have been the fault of Jalen Lane for breaking the wrong way. But bottom line, Marcus Mariota was really good, and I posted this on X shortly after the end of the game on Sunday afternoon. Mariota has delivered big time whenever called upon by the Commanders, and he, by all indications, is a great teammate who brings no drama. He is a perfect backup quarterback. He is exactly what you want in a QB2 when you have a high-level QB1, as the Commanders do in Jaden Daniels. This was Marcus Mariota during his postgame press conference on Sunday afternoon.
First and foremost, just thankful and grateful for just an unbelievable group of guys. Belief is so powerful, and those guys from Monday were just, hey, you got this. And I think that instilled confidence in me to just go out there and just kind of play my game. But it was cool to see kind of all three phases come together, and it's a great stepping stone for us as we move forward in the season.
All right, and during Dan Quinn's press conference on Sunday afternoon, had this exchange between Ben Standig and Quinn.
For Marcus, obviously you have a lot of confidence in what he's going to do, but to see him come out there and be that effective, what do you think?
Yeah, I was pleased, Ben. I knew we'd support him like crazy. You just knew it. This teammate, what he is. I thought it looked, very much quintessential Marcus. Aggressive, run pass stuff, to go, scrambling, being aggressive. He felt very much in control of it. I was pleased with the line in terms of the run game to go. But for him, I knew, okay, would he stay consistent and not have extra, things to go? And, man, he's just so steady. And I thought that's exactly where it was. I was super proud of him.
And Marcus Mariota quarterbacked the Commanders' offense that was so much better in this game as compared to in the loss at the Packers, right? And, of course, the opposition has something to do with that. But this very much was a bounce-back game for Commanders' offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. He, in that loss at the Packers, had a really bad game. He, in this win over the Raiders, clearly had the intent of establishing the running game. And the Commanders' rushing offense was excellent. The Commanders had 32 carries for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns. You look at the running backs. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, 8 carries, 26 yards, and a touchdown. 1 reception for 5 yards on 1 target on a 1st and 10 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 49 with 14-16 left in the second quarter. Bill had a 9-yard pistol handoff run on which he spun and fought forward for yardage after contact. And on the next snap, 2nd and 1 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 40 with 13:30 left in the second quarter. Bill had a 9-yard pistol handoff run on which he made linebacker Landon Roberts miss on an attempted tackle in the backfield and then fought for more yardage after contact. 2 very impressive runs by Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Chris Rodriguez Jr., he started off having been a healthy inactive for each of the team's first 2 games of this regular season. Go figure. He had 11 carries for 39 yards. It was not targeted in the passing game, but Rodriguez on the opening drive of the game, which resulted in the Marcus Mariota touchdown run, had 4 carries for 25 yards. The second snap of the drive on a 2nd and 5 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 22 with 14:05 left in the first quarter. Rodriguez had a 14-yard pistol handoff run. Jeremy McNichols, 4 carries, 78 yards, and a touchdown, was not targeted in the passing game, but how about that touchdown run on a 2nd and 5 for the Commanders at their 40. McNichols, a 60-yard shotgun handoff touchdown run with 3:31 left in the second quarter. McNichols broke through multiple attempted tackles, including one by safety and ex-commander Jeremy Chin near the line of scrimmage, and then burst free for the touchdown. The visual of this play was something. This looked like, maybe a gain of a few yards, and then all of a sudden, McNichols was off to the races, and the result was a 60-yard touchdown run. Also, Deebo Samuel, he had 3 carries for 18 yards, 1st and 10 for the Commanders at their 42 with 8:40 left in the first quarter. Deebo had a 9-yard shotgun direct snap run on a wildcat play. A high-level rushing offense by the Commanders in this win over the Raiders. Now, of course, a big part of that was the offensive line, and we, with the Commanders' offensive line, had big-time change. A change at both starting guard spots. Left guard Brandon Coleman was a healthy inactive of having started each of the team's first 2 games of this regular season. A shocking development. Chris Paul started over Coleman at left guard, and Andrew Wiley started at right guard over Nick Allegretti, off him having been the Commanders' starting right guard for each of the team's first 2 games of this regular season. So Coleman and Allegretti got benched. Coleman was made a healthy inactive. Additionally, offensive tackles George Fant and Trent Scott, each guy was active off having been a healthy inactive for each of the Commanders' first 2 games of this regular season. But as the Commanders' number 1 right guard, Samuel Cosmi remains on the reserve/physically unable to perform list. This really was something. Coleman and Allegretti getting benched. Remember what Commanders analyst Mark Bullock said on last Monday's show, episode 1155. The Commanders' offensive lineman struggling the most had been Brandon Coleman, not right tackle Josh Connerly Jr., despite everybody talking about Connerly. Well, sure enough, Connerly remained as the starting right tackle, and Coleman was made a healthy inactive. Here was Dan Quinn during his postgame press conference on Sunday afternoon on benching Brandon Coleman and Nick Allegretti.
We really made, as competition, the biggest part of it. We made both spots at guard with Nick and Brandon. They're a big part of what we do, but that is the central theme of where we're at. And so we're still in the early days here to get going, and competition's part of who we are in all ways, in all shapes and sizes. So inside at guard, hey, we're going to go a different way. That means where we're at for, not making any statement or message. Trust me on that. This is what we're doing right today, and we'll keep digging, man. That's what competing is about, and you just keep battling to find it, and we'll continue to do that.
Well, the Commanders took Brandon Coleman in the 3rd round of the 2024 NFL Draft at TCU. He was their starting left tackle for much of last season. He was supposed to be their starting left guard for this season, but just 2 games into the regular season, he was a healthy inactive. Like, he wasn't just benched like Nick Allegretti was. Coleman was made inactive. That was something. The Commanders' new-look offensive line did well, save for some penalties. The Commanders' offensive linemen committed 5 penalties, 3 of which were accepted. First and 10 for the Commanders at their 24 with 5:23 left in the first quarter. Both Josh Connerly and Laramie Tunsil each committed a 10-yard holding penalty. Connerly's holding penalty, which came with him blocking edge defender Max Crosby, was accepted. Tunsil's holding penalty was declined. 2nd and 6 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 27 with 12:11 left in the second quarter. Andrew Wiley committed a 10-yard holding penalty, and 2nd and 12 for the Commanders at their 19 with 12:06 left in the third quarter. Laramie Tunsil committed a 9-yard illegal use of hands penalty, and Josh Connerly committed a holding penalty. The Tunsil penalty was accepted. The Connerly penalty was declined. Connerly's penalty again came in him blocking Max Crosby. Connerly got educated in this game in facing Max Crosby, but Connerly was part of an offensive line performance that overall was good. Are you looking to upgrade the heart of your home, whether it is time to repair your gas fireplace, modernize your hearth, or simply add more comfort and style? Nova Fireplace and Stove is Northern Virginia's go-to expert for heat, safety, and home transformation. Nova Fireplace and Stove is a family-owned, fully licensed and insured company with over-the-top credentials, gas and electrical master's licenses, a Class A contractor's license, and a long list of 5-star reviews to back all of this up. Nova Fireplace and Stove has a beautiful showroom in Woodbridge, Virginia. That's where your dream fireplace begins. Come in and see Nova Fireplace and Stove's stunning displays, including custom fireplace glass doors and stone refacing options that can completely transform the look of your fireplace. From sleek and modern to rustic and cozy, Nova Fireplace and Stove has something for every style. And here's what else Nova Fireplace and Stove offers: gas fireplace service and repair, chimney cleaning and brickwork repair, generator installation, panel replacements, and water heater repairs, smoke detectors, security lights, and more. Every job includes a free in-home estimate, and for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast, Nova Fireplace and Stove is offering $25 off any service. Just mention this ad. Nova Fireplace and Stove only works in Northern Virginia and thus knows the homes, the codes, and the people. Your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. So stop by the showroom, see what's possible, and let Nova Fireplace and Stove help you bring warmth, safety, and style to your space. You can also visit NovaFireplaceandStove.com. Nova Fireplace and Stove, where comfort meets craftsmanship and your fireplace becomes the heart of your home. Hey, a few things that you could do to support this podcast, and these are things that cost nothing and take very little time. First of all, you on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate the podcast and write reviews. The highest rating is a 5-star rating. It is greatly appreciated if you give the podcast a 5-star rating, and it is also greatly appreciated if you write like a 1 or 2 sentence review saying that you like the podcast. Also, following the podcast is a big help. If you have an iPhone, following the podcast is as simple as clicking on the word follow next to a plus sign near the top right of your screen. Thank you for doing these things. They help to make the podcast a success, and thank you for listening to the podcast. More now on the Commanders off their 41-24 win over the Las Vegas Raiders at Northwest Stadium on Sunday afternoon. What to make of the Commanders' defense? It was so good in the 21-6 win over the New York Giants at Northwest Stadium on September 7th. The defense was so bad in the 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football on September 11th. The defense in this win over the Raiders was mostly good, but the defense did give up too many big passing plays, although part of that may have been the secondary getting hammered by injury in this game. The good from the Commanders' defense. The Commanders held the Raiders to just 3 for 14 on third downs. Outstanding third down defense. The Commanders' pass rush was terrific. They generated 5 sacks. Linebacker Bobby Wagner had 2 sacks. Edge defenders Dorrance Armstrong, Von Miller, and Javonte Jean-Baptiste each had a sack. I loved the Von Miller sack. 3rd and 6 for the Raiders at their 34 with 13:28 left in the third quarter. Miller had a sack of Geno Smith for a 6-yard loss. Miller used his right arm to push back right tackle DJ Glaze and bull rushing Glaze en route to Smith. Von Miller put on a clinic with that sack. Also, the Commanders' run defense was good. They held Raiders running backs Ashton Genty, Zamir White, and Dylan Laube, and receiver Trey Tucker to combined 26 carries for just 88 yards. So that works out to a yards per carry of just 3.38. But the Commanders allowed the Raiders to average 5.71 yards per play, and that was due to giving up too many big passing plays. The Commanders allowed Raiders quarterback Geno Smith to go 19 for 29 for 289 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions, hit a yards per pass attempt of 9.97 and a yards per completion of 15.21. Those are very high rates. So the Commanders on the Raiders' first offensive snap of the game gave up a 45-yard reception by receiver Jacoby Myers, who was wide open. The Commanders gave up a 61-yard touchdown reception by receiver Trey Tucker with 3:42 left in the fourth quarter. The Commanders got work by Tucker. He had 8 receptions for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns on 9 targets. So also, the Commanders generated no takeaways. The team has 0 takeaways over 3 games this regular season. For all of the talk about takeaways and ball is life, and all of that, 0 takeaways over 3 games this regular season. During head coach Dan Quinn's postgame press conference on Sunday afternoon, had this exchange between Barry Svrluga, columnist for the Washington Post, and Quinn.
Dan, what did you think of the defensive front, both in really stuffing the run and then getting after Geno?
Yeah, I thought we had to get the pressure on. This guy can absolutely rip the ball, so we knew that was going to be one of the factors. I think the running back's going to be a real player. He's got quickness. He can break tackles. And so going into it, you can see why he's as talented as he is. So coming in, we thought, D-line, man, let's make your move, make your space to go. Can we find ways to affect I thought, honestly, he got out of a few and showed the mobility to throw some third downs down the field. Those are hard ones. Scrambling, going, completing it. But I've seen that movie before with him. Unfortunately, he's that type of competitor. So when he can get outside the pocket, he's kind of got the arm strength to just about put it anywhere. But I was pleased to see the group's effort, mindset to go for it.
All right, a wild game for Commanders special teams. First of all, an all-time game in terms of returns. Receiver Deebo Samuel Sr., a 69-yard return of the game's opening kickoff. Receiver Jalen Lane, a 90-yard punt return for a touchdown with 9:35 left in the third quarter. Washington's first punt return for a touchdown in a regular season game since receiver Jamison Crowder had an 85-yard punt return for a touchdown in a 16-10 win at the Baltimore Ravens on October 9th, 2016. This win over the Raiders marked the first time that Washington had a punt return for at least 60 yards and a kickoff return for at least 60 yards in a regular season game since a 38-24 win at the New Orleans Saints on September 11th, 1994. It had been more than 31 years since we had what we had on Sunday afternoon. Deebo on kickoff returns, Lane on punt returns. Each guy has been really good. Lane over 5 punt returns averaged 25.4 yards per return. Deebo had 2 kickoff returns, the 69-yard return of the game's opening kickoff and a 24-yard return later in the first quarter. Receiver Luke McCaffrey had 1 kickoff return, which was a 25-yard return in the fourth quarter. And then there's kicker Matt Gay. Every Commanders fan on the planet was ready to cut Gay off his terrible first quarter on Sunday afternoon, but he then responded with 2 big made field goals in the second quarter. Gay for the game went 2 for 3 on field goals and 5 for 5 on extra points. He committed a kickoff out of bounds penalty. Gay's kickoff off Marcus Mariota's 2-yard shotgun scramble touchdown run with 11:51 left in the first quarter went out of bounds, resulting in the Raiders' first offensive drive of the game beginning at their 40. An absolutely inexcusable penalty. The ensuing Raiders drive resulted in kicker Daniel Carlson's 37-yard field goal with 9:46 left in the first quarter. Then, on a 4th and 5 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 19 with 1:25 left in the first quarter, Gay was wide right on a 37-yard field goal attempt, an absolutely inexcusable miss. You know, it's one thing to miss on field goal attempts of at least 50 yards. When you're missing on a field goal attempt of 37 yards in today's NFL, unacceptable. But 4th and 7 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 28. Gay connected on a 46-yard field goal with 9:56 left in the second quarter. And 2nd and 7 for the Commanders at the Raiders' 37. Gay connected on a 56-yard field goal as time expired in the second quarter. Matt Gay, over the Commanders' first 3 games of this regular season, is just 3 for 6 on field goals. He also is 9 for 9 on extra points. During Dan Quinn's post-game press conference on Sunday afternoon, had this exchange between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Quinn.
How big was it for Gay to make that field goal at the half?
Yeah, I thought it was big, missing the other one to go. We've got confidence in DA, and you've heard us say that, but he does have to deliver on that and hit it. You know, he's different between hitting it well and making it. And so making it, that was a big deal, provided energy to go. We knew we were starting the other way to the half. And so for the defense to get the stop, go, that's the back and forth. I was pleased to see us take the shot, Marcus get out of bounds, give us a chance at it. We were just off in those spaces last week. I felt like too much time at the end, long one, we missed it, they missed it. So being back in that groove was important. We work hard at that, and so I was glad to see us in those spaces be able to deliver.
So now what with Matt Gay? I don't trust him. I don't know how you could trust him. But those 2 field goal makes in the second quarter, especially the 56-yarder, seemed to have bought him more time. But, you know, it was interesting to me, and I'm guessing it was interesting to many of you. Dan Quinn said Matt Gay has to deliver on the team's belief in him. That's not exactly what's happening so far. The Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. It has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the NACE Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the NACE Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The NACE Law Group fights for what it believes in, you, your family, and your future. You with the NACE Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The NACE Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. Time now to talk college football. 5 of the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region played in Week 4 of the 2025 season. No game for Navy, no game for Old Dominion, but we had wins for Maryland, Virginia Tech, Virginia, and James Madison, which won at Liberty. A big win for Maryland. It improved to 4-0 overall, including 1-0 in the Big Ten, with a 27-10 win at Wisconsin on Saturday afternoon. Maryland for this game was a 10.5-point underdog per multiple outlets, and yet won by 17 points. So the Terrapins at halftime held a 20-0 lead. The Terps' 20-point halftime lead, their largest halftime shutout mark in a conference road game since a 24-0 halftime lead at NC State on November 24th, 2007. The Terps defense, again, was dominant. Now, Wisconsin's QB1, Billy Edwards Jr., who transferred from Maryland to Wisconsin this past December, he returned from a 2-game absence caused by a knee injury, but he left the game in the first quarter and did not play again. But the Terps held Wisconsin to just 10 points, just 3.84 yards per play, and just 3 for 17 on third downs and generated 6 sacks. The Terps for this season through Week 4 are number 6 in the FBS in defensive efficiency per ESPN. Yes, number 6. And Maryland true freshman quarterback Malik Washington had a good game. Now, Washington completed just 18 of his 34 pass attempts, but he threw for 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He had a yards per pass attempt of 7.79 and a yards per completion of 14.72. He took just 1 sack, though it was for a 10-yard loss, so he had 3 carries for -2 yards and a touchdown when you take out the sack that he took. He connected on a big touchdown to put the game away in the fourth quarter. 1st and 10 for the Terps at their 38 with 9:11 left in the fourth quarter. Washington had a 62-yard under center play action touchdown bomb to receiver Shalik Knotts with 9:03 left in the fourth quarter. The ensuing extra point gave the Terps a 27-3 lead. Knotts had 3 receptions for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. Good work by Malik Washington in his first collegiate road game. Next up from Maryland is a bye week. The Terps' next game is home to Washington on Saturday, October 4th. Virginia Tech was victorious in its first game with Philip Montgomery as interim head coach. Tech improved to 1-3 overall with a 38-6 win over Wofford at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia on Saturday afternoon. Wofford is an FCS program. Tech for this game was a 35.5-point favorite per multiple outlets. So the Hokies actually did not cover that spread, but they generated 461 total net yards of offense to Wofford's 141, an average 6.49 yards per play to Wofford's 2.82. The Hokies held Wofford to -1 net yards rushing. First time that Tech held an opponent to less than 0 net rushing yards since a 28-22 home loss to then number 10 Florida State on November 8th, 2012. And as important as anything for the Hokies, quarterback Kyron Drones had a good game. He has not had a good season so far, but Drones went 27 for 32 for 370 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He took 1 sack, which was for a 9-yard loss. He had 8 carries for 26 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a lost fumble when you take out the sack that he took. Yes, Wofford is an FCS team, but is this the game that gets Kyron Drones going? During Philip Montgomery's post-game press conference on Saturday afternoon, had this exchange between Hokies football insider Andy Bitter of Tech Sideline and Montgomery.
with drones specifically today. It didn't have a lot of incompletions. It looked like he was checking down quite a lot, getting through progressions. How do you feel like he did with what the game plan was and what was available to him?
Yeah, I thought he worked through the game plan really well. They do so much keeping roofs on, whether it was in some form of 2-3 cloud. I mean, they're rotating and doing a bunch of stuff back there in the secondary. And so you had to have your eyes in the right spot. You had to do a good job at the receiver spot of trying to find windows and run back through them. We had a couple of double move things that we tried to hit. We had a couple of shots down the field that we tried to hit that just weren't there. I mean, they were just too deep. So we did a good job, or he did a good job, of being able to check the ball down, find his underneath stuff, and stay ahead of the chains. Our offensive line gave him time, got a little bit of pressure here and there. For the most part, we did a good job of trying to stay out of third and longs. But I thought Kyron played within the system, played within himself, and took what they gave him. Be needy, not greedy is what we're always talking about, and I thought he did a good job of that today.
Be needy, not greedy. Good philosophy. Next up for Virginia Tech at NC State Saturday night at 7. We have a developing situation with Virginia. The Cavaliers' offense is good, really good. UVA improved to 3-1 overall, including 1-0 in the ACC, with a 48-20 win over Stanford at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia on Saturday night. The game of the first quarter was tied at 7. UVA won the rest of the game 41-13. UVA's offense was outstanding. The Cavs generated 590 total net yards of offense, averaged 7.97 yards per play, and went 7 for 13 on third downs and 1 for 1 on fourth downs. This was off the Cavs in their 55-16 home win over William & Mary on September 13th, setting a single-game program record by generating 700 total net yards of offense. UVA for this season through week 4 is number 9 in the FBS in offensive efficiency per ESPN. Wahoo's head coach, Tony Elliott, has his offense humming. And the big reason why, UVA quarterback and North Texas graduate transfer Chandler Morris. He in this win over Stanford went 23 for 31 for 380 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He took 1 sack, which was for a 4-yard loss. He had 4 carries for 23 yards and a touchdown when you take out the 1 sack that he took. Morris for this season through week 4 is number 17 among all qualified FBS quarterbacks in ESPN's total QBR at 81.3. This was Tony Elliott during his postgame press conference late night on Saturday night on Chandler Morris.
Yeah, I've said that before. He's just got an uncanny ability to get the ball out, get it out quick, different arm angles, different trajectories. He just has a natural knack for that. So you saw that on tape. We've seen it out on the practice field. And then also, too, he's got the ability. He's just got a sense about him. He can feel things without necessarily seeing it. He can feel it, and then he's got the ability with his legs to get out of some tough situations. But I will say, man, super proud of the offensive line. I know we got 1 sack credited, but I told Chandler that was on him. He's got to throw that. I did. I told him. I said he's got to throw that ball out of bounds on that draw play, and he will next time. So I told the OL they still got 4 games with no sacks. So that was on Chandman.
Yeah, but Chandman is doing a heck of a job. He's having the best season by a UVA quarterback since Brendan Armstrong in 2021. UVA receiver Trell Harris, he had 4 receptions for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns on 6 targets. UVA running backs Jamari Taylor, a North Carolina Central transfer, Xavier Brown, and Harrison Whaley, a Wyoming transfer. Those 3 guys combined for 34 carries for 185 yards. And who's got some players back on defense? Linebacker Cam Robinson, safety Antonio Clary, and defensive end Mekhi Buchanan made their season debuts. They each missed UVA's first 3 games of this season due to injury. Robinson led the Hoos in tackles with 7 and recovered a fumble in the fourth quarter. Next up for Virginia, big game, home to Florida State Friday night at 7. And James Madison improved to 2-1 overall with a 31-13 win at Liberty on Saturday. Liberty fell to 1-3 overall. JMU overcame a 13-10 third quarter deficit. The Dukes won the rest of the game at 21-0. JMU head coach Bob Chesney off playing 2 quarterbacks in starter and redshirt junior Alonzo Barnett III and redshirt senior Matthew Sluka in the Dukes' 28-14 loss at Louisville on September 5th. Played Barnett for the entire entire game, and he did well. Barnett went 17 for 25 for 213 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He had a yards per pass attempt of 8.52 and a yards per completion of 12.53. He took no sacks, so Barnett had 5 carries for 45 yards and 2 touchdowns. He quarterbacked the Duke's offense that went 6 for 10 on third downs. JMU running backs Wayne Knight and Iowa Day, they combined for 30 carries for 176 yards and a touchdown. JMU had 440 total net yards of offense to Liberty's 233, averaged 6.57 yards per play to Liberty's 3.7. Liberty does not appear to be a good team this season, and the Flames' QB1 got hurt. Liberty head coach Jamie Chadwell played 3 quarterbacks. A starter and Coastal Carolina transfer Ethan Vasco came out for the second half in a sling. Vasco, redshirt freshman, and North Carolina transfer Michael Merdinger and true freshman Ethan Houck, they went a combined 7 for 21 for just 75 yards, no touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, and took 3 sacks, although the 3 quarterbacks did combine for 16 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown when you take out the 3 sacks. Next up for James Madison, home to Georgia Southern, Saturday afternoon at 1:30. Next up for Liberty at Old Dominion, Saturday evening at 6. A wild weekend for the Nationals. They won 2 out of 3 games at the New York Mets, with each game being an eventful game. And also over the weekend with the Nats was a major piece by the Washington Post coming out on Saturday morning. Friday night, a 12-6 loss at the Mets in a game in which the Nats blew a 4-1 third-inning lead and allowed 6 runs in the bottom of the 4th. But Saturday, a 5-3 11-inning win at the Mets in a game in which the Nats blew a 3-0 8th-inning lead. Sunday afternoon, a 3-2 win at the Mets. The Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 64 and 92, worst record in the National League East, second worst record in the National League, third worst record in the majors. But the Nats handed the Mets a painful series loss as the Mets fight for their postseason lives. Also, the Nats now are 11 and 9 in this month of September. More on the series in a bit, but the Washington Post on Saturday morning came out with a piece by columnist Barry Verluga, Nats insider Andrew Golden, and MLB insider Chelsea Janes. The headline of the piece, quote, "Who is running the Washington Nationals?" End quote. And the piece painted a very unflattering picture of the Lerner ownership group. The piece was based on conversations with, quote, more than a dozen current or former employees of the Nationals and others around MLB familiar with how the Lerners run their team, end quote. And the piece very much conveyed a lack of leadership with the Nats, due in large part to there being so many people who make up the Lerner ownership group. Said one source of the team, quote, "It's so inefficient when there are that many people in the room. It's hard to come to decisions in an orderly fashion," end quote. Said a former employee of the Nats, quote, "How does anything get decided? Who has input into it? Who is influential and who's not? I couldn't tell you the first thing because I'm not in those meetings," end quote. A former Nats executive described this organizational structure as, quote, "chaotic," end quote. 2 sources referred to the team as, quote, "directionless," end quote. A former Nats employee said that, quote, "More than once I had an owner tell me to do something and then had another say not to spend time on it," end quote. You know, the fear that so many Nats fans have is that it doesn't matter who the Nats hire to run their baseball operations because the team, as long as it is owned by the Lerner family, will not again have sustained success. This is like when Dan Snyder owned the Redskins/Washington football team/Commanders. As long as the team was owned by him, the team could not have sustained success. Maybe a good season here or there, but not sustained success. Now, the Lerner family is not Dan Snyder. Let's make that clear, but this piece by the Washington Post, while not surprising, was very discouraging and very concerning. You wonder what the many candidates for Nats head of baseball operations think about the team off reading this piece, and think about potentially working for the Lerner family off reading this piece. And to me, what we have here is a classic case of too many chefs in the kitchen. You know, the makeup of the Lerner ownership group does not get talked about nearly enough. The Lerner ownership group, what is meant by that? Well, the Lerner ownership group is made up of managing principal owner Mark Lerner and 6 principal owners: Annette M. Lerner, Marla Lerner Tannenbaum, Deborah Lerner Cohen, Robert K. Tannenbaum, Edward L. Cohen, and Judy Lenkin Lerner. So 7 people have the title of principal owner in some form. That's potentially 7 different visions for the team, 7 different philosophies in owning the team, 7 different views on how the team should be run. That's not good. What you want is one clear alpha lead owner who is very good and who hires great baseball people to run baseball operations and who spends on infrastructure and players. The Nats don't have this right now, and they may not have this anytime soon. Monumental Sports and Entertainment founder, chairman, managing partner, and CEO Ted Leonsis, who we know wants to buy the Nats. He at CNBC Sports and Boardroom's Game Plan event in Los Angeles this past Tuesday, September 16th, said of having tried to buy the Nats, quote, "It takes 2 to tango, but the Lerners aren't ready to sell," end quote. Not what I, and I know many of you wanted to hear/read. As for the Nats winning 2 out of 3 games at the Mets over the weekend, the Nats did so as the rise of Dalen Lyle continued, although he got hurt, although, at least initially, this does not appear to be a serious injury. The 12-6 loss at the Mets on Friday night, the Nats scored 6 runs on just 8 hits, but 5 of them were extra base hits as the Nats had a home run, a triple, 3 doubles, and 3 singles. Also, the Nats went 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. The Nats worked 2 walks. Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting DH and number 4 batter, went 1 for 4 with an RBI triple. The triple was his 11th in this regular season, tying the record for most triples by a Nats player in a regular season since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. in the 2004-2005 offseason. Lyle in a Nats 4-run third had a 2-out RBI triple to the right center field gap for a 4-1 Nats lead. The 5-3 11-inning win at the Mets on Saturday, the Nats scored 5 runs on just 6 hits, which were an inside-the-park home run and 5 singles. The Nats worked 3 walks, but went just 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position and struck out 12 times. But Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting DH and number 4 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 2-run inside-the-park home run, a single, and an RBI fielder's choice grounder. Lyle in a Nats 2-run 11th had a 1-out 2-run inside-the-park homer off the center field wall for a 5-3 Nats lead. And the 3-2 win at the Mets on Sunday afternoon, the Nats scored just 3 runs, totaled 9 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 6 singles. But the Nats worked no walks, went just 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position, and struck out 12 times. Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter, went 1 for 1 with a single, but he left the game in the bottom of the third due to what the Nats called a left knee contusion, which he suffered in crashing into the left field sidewall in an attempt at a sliding catch on an opposite field RBI single by former Oriole Cedric Mullins on a fly ball to left field. And this was a brutal looking play for Lyle. He clearly was in pain. You hope like heck that he's okay, but it is sounding like he just might be okay. This was Nats interim manager Miguel Cairo during his postgame session with reporters on Sunday afternoon on Dalen Lyle. And then you'll hear multiple follow-up exchanges.
He's feeling fine. It was scary, but he got a concussion in the knee, so he's fine. But he was, I think, more scared than because he hit the kind of like the concrete in the bottom of the thing. But it was a little scary.
What was going through your mind when you see it and when you run out into the field?
I went on the field. I hope he's fine. And when we get there, he was a little shaky, but, after that he was fine, and he want to continue playing. I said, no chance.
Did he get x-rays on it already?
No, they just check everything. All the movement was fine, and he just got a little contusion, and we go from there.
So it sounds like a left knee contusion for Dalen Lyle, but nothing more, at least according to Miguel Cairo. But man, what a month of September Dalen Lyle is having. He now has the following slash line for this month of September. Batting average of .378, on base percentage of .432, slugging percentage of .757. Now, also regarding plays in the outfield on Sunday afternoon, Jacob Young, he is the Nats starting center fielder and number 9 batter, went 1 for 3 with a single and a stolen base. But Young in the bottom of the 5th made a circus catch at the outfield wall on a leadoff flyout by Brett Beatty on a play on which Young attempted a spinning, leaping, backhanded catch, bobbled the ball, kicked the ball, and then caught it with his glove in underhanded fashion. This is one of the craziest defensive plays that you'll ever see, but it was made by a guy in Jacob Young who is a high-level defensive center fielder. What a play by Jacob Young. And Young, in the bottom of the ninth, made a leaping, backhanded, home run robbing catch on a leadoff flyout by pinch hitter Wilson Alvarez to preserve the Nats' 3-2 lead. An incredible defensive game by Jacob Young. The Nats homer on Sunday afternoon was by Nasim Nunez. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 8 batter. Went 2 for 4 with a 2-run homer and a single. Nunez, in a Nats 3-run second, had a 2-out, 2-run homer to left field for a 3-0 Nats lead. He was the Nats starting shortstop on Sunday afternoon because C.J. Abrams, in the 5-3 11-inning win at the Mets on Saturday, hurt his right shoulder. Abrams, as the Nats starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, and he made an atrocious base-running blunder. Abrams, in the top of the 11th, made a horrendous out on the base pass. He has the Nats' automatic runner at second base, got tagged out in ridiculously trying to advance to third base on a leadoff fielder's choice grounder by Andres Chaparro to Mets third baseman Ronnie Mauricio, and Abrams on the play jammed his right shoulder. He got removed from the game for the bottom of the 11th inning. Abrams, in the 12-6 loss at the Mets on Friday night, as the Nats starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 2 for 4 with a 2-run homer and an RBI double. But with Nasim Nunez, Nunez not at all known for his power, but he in this month of September now has 3 home runs. Compare that with James Wood, who in this month of September has 1 home run. James Wood had another underwhelming series. The 12-6 loss at the Mets on Friday night. Wood, as the Nats starting left fielder and number 1 batter, went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, and he committed a fielding error in the Mets' 6-run fourth. The 5-3 11-inning win at the Mets on Saturday. Wood, as the Nats starting left fielder and number 1 batter, went 0 for 3 with 2 walks and a strikeout, and the 3-2 win at the Mets on Sunday afternoon. Wood, as the Nats starting DH and number 1 batter, went 1 for 4 with a single and 2 strikeouts. James Wood for this regular season is number 1 among all qualified Nats players in OPS, but that OPS is down to 806. His OPS as of games through July 3rd was 958. His OPS has dropped 152 points over the last 2+ months, and Wood for this regular season now has an MLB worst 215 strikeouts. The MLB record for most strikeouts by a batter in a regular season is 223 by Mark Reynolds in 2009. Wood is 8 strikeouts away from the record. The Nats season will end this Sunday. By the way, Dalen Lyle, he is not a qualified batter, doesn't have enough plate appearances, but he for this regular season has an OPS of 818, better than the James Wood OPS of 806. The Nats starting pitching in the team winning 2 out of 3 games at the Mets over the weekend was bad in Game 1, but good in Games 2 and 3. The 12-6 loss at the Mets on Friday night, Andrew Alvarez officially allowed 6 runs, 4 earned in 3 1/3 innings. He gave up 7 hits, which were a double, and 6 singles. He issued a walk and a hit by pitch. He did record 4 strikeouts, but he over 81 pitches threw just 45 strikes versus 36 balls. But the 5-3 11-inning win at the Mets on Saturday, Cade Cavalli tossed 5 scoreless innings. He gave up 5 hits, which were a double, and 4 singles. He had 3 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He threw a lot of strikes as he over 76 pitches threw 52 strikes versus just 24 balls. And the 3-2 win at the Mets on Sunday afternoon, Jake Irvin allowed 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings with 5 strikeouts. He has not had a good season, but he was good on Sunday afternoon. He gave up 6 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks and a balk. He threw 93 pitches, 56 strikes versus 37 balls. And the Nats relief pitching in the team winning 2 out of 3 games at the Mets over the weekend, like the starting pitching, bad in Game 1, but good in Games 2 and 3. The 12-6 loss at the Mets on Friday night, 5 Nats relievers officially combined to allow 6 runs in 4 2/3 innings. The 5-3 11-inning win at the Mets on Saturday, 5 Nats relievers combined to allow 3 runs in 6 innings. All 3 of the runs came off the Nats closer/ace reliever Jose A. Ferrer. He allowed 3 runs in 2 innings in blowing the save chance. Not good, but he generated 4 swinging strikeouts, including back-to-back swinging strikeouts of Brandon Nimmo and Starling Marte, with the bases loaded to end a 1-run bottom of the 9th for the Mets and keep the game tied at 3, and those strikeouts proved to be key. And the Nats in their 3-2 win at the Mets on Sunday afternoon used just 1 reliever, Mitchell Parker. He tossed 3 2/3 scoreless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. He threw 53 pitches, 38 strikes, just 15 balls. So we on Friday afternoon learned that starting pitcher Mitchell Parker had been demoted to the bullpen for the rest of the season. He has had a terrible season as a starting pitcher, as we have discussed, but Parker, to his credit, was great as a reliever on Sunday afternoon. Next up for the Nats is their final road series of the season, a 3-game series at the Atlanta Braves. Game 1 Monday night at 7:15, Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2 Tuesday night at 7:15, Brad Lord will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3 Wednesday afternoon at 12:15, Andrew Alvarez will be the Nats starting pitcher. Well, the Orioles are lacking firepower and have been for a while. They still have catcher Adley Rutschman on the 10-day injured list. The O's traded key hitters and first baseman / outfielder Ryan O'Hearn and outfielders Ramon Laureano and Cedric Mullins in the lead-up to the 2025 MLB trade deadline on July 31st. But the O's do have plenty of healthy batters who should be doing better, and they're not, and that, like this overall Orioles season, is disappointing. The O's over the weekend completed losing 3 out of 4 games against the New York Yankees at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Thursday night, a 7-0 loss to the Yankees, giving the O's 15 shutout losses in MLB's 2025 regular season. Friday night, a 4-2 win over the Yankees, but Saturday night, a 6-1 loss to the Yankees, clinching the O's finishing with a losing record for the first time in 4 regular seasons, and Sunday afternoon, a 7-1 10-inning loss to the Yankees in a game in which the O's gave up 6 runs in the top of the 10th. The O's in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 73-83, worst record in the American League East. The Yankees in this regular season now are 88-68, second best record in the American League East and in the American League. The O's in losing 3 out of 4 games to the Yankees totaled just 6 runs. 6 runs over 4 games. Nowhere near good enough. The 7-0 loss to the Yankees on Thursday night, the O's scored no runs, a total just 3 hits, worked just 2 walks, went 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position, and struck out 15 times. All 3 of the hits were singles. The O's got dominated by Yankees starting pitcher Max Fried. He tossed 7 scoreless innings with 13 strikeouts versus 1 walk. The 4-2 win over the Yankees on Friday night. The O's scored 4 runs, totaled 7 hits, worked 3 walks, and went 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The 7 hits were a home run, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. The 6-1 loss to the Yankees on Saturday night. The O's scored just 1 run, totaled just 4 hits, worked just 1 walk, went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position, and struck out 11 times. So the 4 hits were a double and 3 singles. So the O's got worked by Yankee starting pitcher Carlos Rodon. He allowed 1 run in 7 innings with 8 strikeouts versus 1 walk. A bright spot was Kobe Mayo. He is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 7 batter, went 2 for 3 with an RBI double and a single. And the 7-1 10-inning loss to the Yankees on Sunday afternoon. The O's over 10 innings scored just 1 run, total just 4 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 2 singles. So the O's did work 6 walks, but the O's went 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position and struck out 13 times. Samuel Basallo hit the homer. He is the Orioles starting catcher and number 5 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Good to see that, but overall a terrible series for the O's offensively. The Orioles starting pitching in the team losing 3 out of 4 games to the Yankees. It was good in just 2 of the 4 games. The 7-0 loss to the Yankees on Thursday night. Cade Povich allowed 3 runs in 5 innings, but the 4-2 win over the Yankees on Friday night, Trevor Rogers again was great. He tossed 6 scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts. He gave up just 1 hit, which was a single. He issued 2 walks and a hit by pitch. He threw 106 pitches, 68 strikes, 38 balls. So Rogers began the outing with 5 no-hit innings. The O's in a post on X on Friday night referred to Rogers as their ace. Quote, another gem from our ace, end quote. Trevor Rogers now at the major league level this regular season, 17 starts, ERA of 1.35, whip of 0.87. There is a rising movement for him to win the American League Cy Young Award. The problem is the lack of innings, just 106 2/3 innings. But man, his work over those 106 2/3 innings has been phenomenal. It is shocking how good he has been. The 6-1 loss to the Yankees on Saturday night. Tomoyuki Sagano allowed 4 runs in 3 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 home runs and 4 singles. He issued a walk and a hit by pitch. He recorded 3 strikeouts. He overs 3 innings innings through a whopping 87 pitches, 51 strikes, 36 balls, and the 7-1 10-inning loss to the Yankees on Sunday afternoon. Kyle Bradish, again, was great. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 9 strikeouts. He gave up just 2 hits, both of which were singles. He issued 2 walks and a hit by pitch. He threw 91 pitches, 57 strikes, 34 balls. So this was Bradish's 5th start since the O's on August 26 announced having activated him from the 60-day injured list. He had been on that since March 21st due to Tommy John surgery that he underwent in June 2024. Bradish, over these 5 starts, ERA of 2.25, whip of exactly 1, 39 strikeouts versus 10 walks. Terrific. The Orioles' relief pitching in the team losing 3 out of 4 games to the Yankees was not terrific. Only good in 1 game. The 7-0 loss to the Yankees on Thursday night. 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 4 runs in 4 innings. The 4-2 win over the Yankees on Friday night. 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 3 innings. The 6-1 loss to the Yankees on Saturday night. 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 6 innings. Jose Espada tossed 3 scoreless innings with 4 swinging strikeouts. The O's on Friday afternoon announced having recalled Espada from AAA Norfolk. But here's what's most significant about Jose Espada. He became the 70th different player used by the O's in a game in this regular season, tying the MLB record set by the 2024 Miami Marlins for most players used in a regular season. This, of course, so speaks to how walloped the O's have been by injury this season. And the 7-1 10-inning loss to the Yankees on Sunday afternoon, 5 Orioles relievers combined to allow 6 runs, 5 earned in 4 innings. Keegan Aiken, he officially allowed 3 runs in a third of an inning. He and a Yankees' 6-run 10th faced 4 batters and got just 1 out. He gave up 2 home runs, including a grand slam by Ben Rice to right center field on a 1-2 pitch for a 5-1 Yankees lead. The homer went a projected 413 feet per StatCast. Keegan Aiken has been used as the Orioles' ace reliever / closer, with their true ace reliever / closer, Felix Bautista, done for the season and done for who knows how long. Bautista on August 19th underwent surgery to repair a torn right rotator cuff and torn right labrum. The O's on August 20th, in announcing the surgery, said that he was expected to be out for 12 months. But Aiken has had a so-so season. Aiken, for this regular season, 62 games, 61 and a third innings, ERA of 3.52, whip of 1.39. He has given up 10 home runs. Also, the O's on Friday afternoon announced having return reliever Scott Bluette from his minor league rehab assignment, having reinstated him from the 60-day injured list and having designated him for assignment. He had been on the 60-day IL since August 26. He was on the 15-day IL July 13th to August 26. So all of this due to right elbow discomfort. And did you catch this? The Detroit Tigers, they on Sunday morning announced having designated former Orioles starting pitcher Charlie Morton for assignment, and the corresponding roster move was the Tigers selecting former Nationals reliever Tanner Rainey from AAA Toledo. But how about this with Charlie Morton, the Tigers DFAing Morton? The O's on July 31st, what was 2025 MLB trade deadline day, announced having traded Morton and cash considerations to the Tigers for relief pitching prospect Micah Ashman. But Morton for the Tigers was atrocious. 9 starts, ERA of 7.09, whip of 1.60, reminiscent of how his season with the O's started, right? Morton for the O's in this 2025 regular season initially was so bad that he got demoted to the bullpen. However, he over 11 starts after returning to the Orioles rotation had an ERA of 3.88. Morton is on an expiring contract off having been signed by the O's to a 1-year reported $15 million contract this past January as a free agent. This is his age 41 season. You do wonder if this is his last season. No game for the O's on Monday. Next up for them is their final home series of the season, a 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Game 1, Tuesday evening at 6:35. Game 2, Wednesday evening at 6:35. Game 3, Thursday afternoon at 1:05. The O's have not yet announced their starting pitchers for the series. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Tuesday show, episode 1161. We'll have plenty for you on the Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, we'll talk Nationals. The Nats are at the Atlanta Braves Monday night at 7:15 in Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
What did that feel like?
Yeah, probably like you'd expect, and it's this kind of part don't want it to happen, but it was all good.
Getting stitches?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.